Translator Atlas Studios. Editor Atlas Studios. This single stroke of sword Dao alone is still insufficient for me to triumph over First Ancestor Human Emperor. Qin sheathed his blade, his gaze lifting towards Supreme Emperor Heaven, veiled beneath boundless darkness. As his sight settled upon it, the heaven-shaking radiance of sword light that had filled the skies moments before quietly dissipated, vanishing without a trace. Upon the battlefield, embers still crackled and flames continued to roar, unwilling to be extinguished. The stench of scorched flesh drifted through the air, thick and suffocating. That sword strike had poured out every fragment of Qin emotions and spirit. In that instant, he had ascended to a realm he had never before touched. Yet even so, the gulf between himself and First Ancestor Human Emperor remained vast, like heaven and earth. However, without the oppressive might of First Ancestor Human Emperor, without that encounter within the Dark Realm, it would have been exceedingly difficult for him to take this step, to step beyond the confines of Village Chief's sword picture, to break free from the shackles of Butcher's blade techniques. That thrust of the sword had not merely birthed a technique belonging solely to him. It had also cleaved apart the dark clouds that had long shrouded his heart. Sanghua's gaze rested upon his back. The youth's sword practice upon the sacrificial altar had carved a deep impression into her mind. Especially that final move, when his fingertip pressed upon the heart between his brows, and the sword followed. The profound intent concealed within that strike erupted like a tide across heaven and earth. For a fleeting moment, she seemed to behold an entire world undergoing transformation. A turbulent era where countless heroes battled amidst foul winds and bloody rains, surging forward in pursuit of a single guiding figure. The earlier sword techniques Qin had displayed were intricate, yet their spirit scattered. Sword-treading mountains and rivers was majestic, bearing the imposing spirit of a heavenly god marching forward without fear, yet it merely depicted the grandeur of mountains and rivers. Sword of Founding Emperor. Sea of blood, brimmed with killing intent, domineering and ferocious, possessing the bearing of a sword god. Yet its sword will lingered in remembrance of fallen martyrs. Shackled to the past, Calamity of High Emperor carried boundless sorrow, recounting the fall of an era. Each of these three sword arts possessed brilliance, yet each bore flaws. In terms of spirit alone, Sanghua felt they all fell short of Qin final strike. As for which would reign supreme in true battle, even she could not determine. Exquisite sword art. She rose gracefully and approached his side. What is the name of that sword technique? Calamity sword. Qin turned his head as she approached. She lifted her gaze, staring into the distant void. At that very moment, a violent gale surged forth, sweeping toward them before coalescing into the form of an incomparably handsome tiger. Its yellow and black striped fur rippled like flowing clouds, each strand alive with motion, exuding an awe-inspiring majesty. Soft tufts adorned its ears, rotating freely in every direction. Exquisite sword art, truly extraordinary. The tiger god ascended the stone steps of the sacrificial altar. Midway, his feet left the ground, and his form shifted into that of a tiger-headed deity. Step by step, he approached Qin, his voice resounding like thunder. Why is it called Calamity Sword? This tiger god was the mount of Saint Woodcutter, summoned into this realm alongside his master. He had borne Saint Woodcutter into countless battles and possessed unmatched valor. A ripple stirred within Qin heart. The return of the black tiger god from the front lines signified that its master had already subdued the devil gods waging war there. The transformation of heaven and earth is a great calamity, Qin replied. Such change is not wrought solely by natural disasters, nor by invasions of heavenly devils, nor by mortals perishing amidst fire and flood. True transformation lies within the hearts of the people, within the reform of divine arts, when techniques ascend and evolve into great Tao. The tiger god turned his gaze upon him, a sneer curling at his lips as he advanced. To alter the hearts of men, divine arts, laws, and paths, what arrogant words! With this single sword of yours, can you truly reshape this world, alter this universe, and overturn the thoughts of all living beings? Your sword is not without merit, but your ambition far exceeds your strength. Qin eyes ignited with fervor, his voice brimming with burning excitement. When the hearts of the people change, they will no longer fear the gods, and when mortals no longer fear the gods shall hold no dominion over them. At that time, divine arts will be free to evolve, laws will transform, and paths will shift. In turn, heaven and earth themselves shall be remade. Sanghua watched the youth beside her, whose spirit surged like a rising tide. Even in the presence of the Black Tiger God's overwhelming aura, he showed not the slightest trace of fear. Qinmu raised his hand, pointing toward the desolate battlefield cloaked in darkness. His voice, hoarse yet stirring to the soul, echoed through the night. Behold, this is the calamity that gods and devils have cast upon us, to instill fear in mortals, to demand reverence, to enforce worship. My calamity sword shall instead open a calamity of transformation, of changing hearts, of reforming divine arts and paths. Through this, I shall reshape the world. His passion surged ever higher. Though Sanghua could not fully comprehend his words, she could feel the blazing conviction within him. There was an irresistible charisma about the youth, a force that compelled others to listen, to be swept along by the torrent of his emotions. The Black Tiger God crossed the remaining distance in a few strides, arriving at the base of the altar. His immense body dwarfed Qinmu and the others, exuding an oppressive might that pressed down upon them. He looked down at Qinmu, whiskers spreading as a smile formed. I knew you were extraordinary. Though I cannot fully grasp your words, they carry a certain power. What is the name of this move? Qinmu lifted his head, his expression solemn. This move is called Opening Calamity. The Black Tiger God paused, slightly taken aback. Opening Calamity, for the transformation of hearts? For the evolution of divine arts? For the change of paths? A magnificent name. Sanghua grasped part of its meaning. The youth beside her, a visitor from another world, sought to unleash a calamity upon the gods and devils who had plunged their lives into suffering. Thus the name, Opening Calamity. It was a path of reform, of refining the old and reshaping the future, altering the very existence of gods and devils alike. How many moves does your calamity sword possess? The Black Tiger God inquired. Qinmu flushed slightly, lowering his voice. At present, only one. I feel I have already exhausted all my knowledge just to create this single move. That is only natural. At your age, your accumulation is limited. The Tiger God's whiskers lay flat against his face. To found a sword technique at your stage is already exceptional. By my lord's command, I have come to retrieve you. He is currently locked in battle and requires your presence. Come with me. Qinmu was momentarily stunned before excitement surged within him. Saint Woodcutter wishes to see me? The Black Tiger God reverted to his true form and replied, Did you not hear? He was engaged in combat when he suddenly thought of you. Thus he summoned you. Climb onto my back. The path ahead is fraught with danger. Devils roam freely. You would not reach your destination alone. Saint Woodcutter is fighting. Bah, if he is battling, why would he need me? Though puzzled, Qinmu still leaped onto his back. Sanghua hurriedly followed, saying, My father is also at the front lines. I must find him. The magnificent tiger god, clad in black and yellow, dashed toward the front lines with astonishing speed. Though his body was enormous, his muscles were sleek and refined. As he ran, he made no sound whatsoever, silent as a phantom. Far faster than Fatty Dragon. Qinmu clenched his fists, a faint ache stirring within his heart. Though the dragon Qilin had grown swifter, its steps remained heavy, capable of shattering mountain stones at full speed. Sanghua gazed into the pitch-black night, unease stirring within her. They had already crossed the battlefield, leaping beyond the front lines, heading directly toward Li City, the stronghold of the devils. Numerous devil gods gathered there, among them the formidable true devil Fu Riluo. When Li City had fallen, it was Fu Riluo himself who struck. With a single execution of his devil technique, he slaughtered countless inhabitants. Even 2 true gods of Supreme Emperor Heaven perished beneath his hand. His might was terrifying beyond measure. The Black Tiger God leaped over the army formations, heading straight for the city. Such an action seemed no different from courting death. How do the divine arts practitioners of Supreme Emperor Heaven determine whether someone possesses the aptitude of a true god? Qinmu suddenly asked, recalling something. How do you cultivate? Suppressing the unease in her heart, Sanghua replied. First comes aptitude. Those with king-tier spirit bodies naturally possess exceptional potential, With proper guidance, their corporeal bodies can reach the level of a young true god. Furthermore, Supreme Emperor Heaven possesses a trial known as the God Suppression Pagoda. Those who can emerge from it are acknowledged as possessing the aptitude of a true god. Chinmu blinked. God Suppression Pagoda? What is that? Before Sanghua could respond, the Black Tiger God's voice rang out. The God Suppression Pagoda is a treasure from the founding emperor era, used to test the strength of one's corporeal body. Passing it does not necessarily mean one has the aptitude of a true god. It merely indicates that the body has barely reached the level of a young true god. Among those who pass the pagoda in Supreme Emperor Heaven, at most half truly possess such aptitude. Becoming a true god is exceedingly difficult. How could one achieve it merely through diligent cultivation of techniques? Sanghua's curiosity deepened. Senior, then what truly constitutes the aptitude of a true god? True aptitude lies not only in the corporeal body, but also within the primordial spirit, divided into spirit and soul. Has your spirit embryo reached that level? Has your soul attained it? Beyond the primordial spirit lies the frame of mind. Yet even reaching the god realm is insufficient. There are also divine arts and paths to consider, the Black Tiger God explained. The individuals you deem to possess the aptitude of a true god are still far from it. For example, youth, what is your name? My name is Chinmu, he quickly added, the current Heavenly Saint Cult Master. Heavenly Saint Cult Master? I have never heard of it. Chinmu's expression darkened. Since the founding of Heavenly Devil Cult, Saint Woodcutter, the Patriarch, and the sacred teachers had been revered by countless people, yet his mount had never even heard of them. The Black Tiger God continued, Take Chinmu as an example. His abilities are not weak, yet by your standards, his corporeal body does not meet the aptitude of a true god. Even so, with his strength, he can contend against those you consider to possess such aptitude. That is because I am the Overlord Body, Chinmu declared excitedly. Overlord Body? I have never heard of it. The Black Tiger God sped through the night as he spoke. Your sword skill has nearly touched the realm of path. Your comprehension of paths, techniques, and divine arts is close to that of a true god's aptitude. However, your frame of mind is slightly lacking. As for your primordial spirit, it is exceptionally powerful, among the finest of your generation. That is why you can battle those young experts with the aptitude of a true god. We have arrived at Lee City. Before them, flames soared into the heavens. A grand and majestic city stood illuminated beneath blazing light. Upon its walls gathered devil gods and countless devils. Sanghua trembled at the sight. Yet none of the devils nor the devil gods made any move to stop the Black Tiger God. Without a single word, they allowed them to pass into the city. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Sanghua's heart trembled like a leaf in a storm. The Black Tiger God had led them straight into the lair of their foes. Could it be that he had already turned his back on them? Yet, he is a god. If he wished us dead, why would he bother with deception? A single claw would suffice to end us, or he could have devoured us whole. Though reason spoke thus, unease coiled within her chest, refusing to disperse. After all, they now stood within the enemy's encampment. For 20,000 years, the devil race had taken root within Supreme Emperor Heaven. In her memories, they were creatures of cruelty and malice incarnate. Any who fell into their grasp would count themselves fortunate if death came swiftly. And now, she stood amidst them. Her gaze swept across the surroundings, only to meet the eyes of countless devils watching in silence. The heavenly devils exuded a bone-chilling aura. They resembled starving beasts lurking in shadow, poised to leap forth and tear flesh from bone. Cold sweat dampened Sanghua's palms. Her eyes suddenly fixed upon a single devil god, and could no longer turn away. That man stood bare-chested, yet his visage was far from human. His entire body was covered in swirling flame patterns, as though forged from living fire. Within his eye sockets burned two flickering orbs, like embers that would never extinguish. When his gaze met theirs, he revealed a faint smile. "Young lady, I seem to recall you. Your family perished by my hand, did they not?" Sanghua's fingers clenched into tight fists, knuckles whitening, yet not a word passed her lips. Chinmu cast a glance at the devil god, and his pupils shrank sharply. Memories surged forth, of the first time he had encountered Sanghua. That city had been besieged by heavenly devils, and her father had gone forth to resist, only to be surrounded. A devil god had forced his way into her household, slaughtering nearly all within. That sight had been terrifying beyond words. Though Qinmu had not seen Sanghua's face, he had felt her fear, and her seething hatred. He had fled alongside her through chaos and bloodshed, and only thus had she survived unharmed. At that time, Qinmu and Sanghua had existed as if in separate worlds, unable to clearly discern the devil god's features. Yet now, seeing Sanghua's expression, he knew without doubt. This topless devil god was the butcher of her kin. The architecture here bears striking resemblance to the great ruins, Qinmu suddenly said with a gentle smile. I have seen many relics from the founding emperor era, and they resemble these palaces. Sister Sanghua, perhaps Supreme Emperor Heaven and our great ruins share a common origin. He sought to divert her thoughts, yet her heart was ensnared by old wounds, unable to heed him. Instead, the Black Tiger god replied, Supreme Emperor Heaven once belonged to Founding Emperor. It was part of the first heaven among the 33 heavens. Naturally, the structures are similar. Supreme Emperor Heaven originates from the Founding Emperor era? Qinmu's heart quaked violently as he exclaimed, What are these 33 heavens? Has the Founding Emperor era not already ended? The Black Tiger god stared at him in confusion. Ended? When did it end? How could it end when Founding Emperor yet lives? So long as he lives, his era shall never fall. Qinmu's mind spun, his heart pounding like thunder. The Founding Emperor era had not ended. This revelation struck him like a bolt from the heavens. At once, he recalled his experiences in the great ruins and Fengdu, how the Heavenly King's statue had moved under Founding Emperor's command, riding the dragon Qilin to slay the Dragon King, and how King Yama had spoken of Founding Emperor's journey to Carefree Village. Those events had already hinted that the era endured, yet to hear it spoken so plainly by the Black Tiger god still shook him to his core. Your heart is unsettled, the Black Tiger god said sternly, his voice resounding like a drum. With such instability, how will you fight later? Your cultivation of the mind is already lacking. Will you not steady yourself? Qinmu blinked in confusion. Fight? What fight? We have arrived. The Black Tiger god came to an abrupt halt, his body shuddered, and with a sudden motion, he flung Qinmu and Sanghua down. As they landed, the tiger god's form trembled and reverted to that of a tiger-headed deity. He gazed down at them, frowning deeply. Then, raising his voice, he declared, Mu, Lord, these two are useless. Their minds are in disarray. Should they be sent to battle, they will surely suffer crushing defeat. Sanghua's mind churned with grief and fury upon seeing the devil who had slaughtered her family. Qinmu's thoughts, meanwhile, were thrown into chaos by the revelation of the Founding Emperor era. Both stood in a state of distraction, unfit for battle. Yet the tiger god's words snapped them back to awareness. They lifted their heads, and what they beheld left them astonished. Ahead lay a sprawling complex of palaces arranged in a chaotic yet strangely harmonious pattern. Some were engulfed in flames, yet remained intact. The fire seemed to emanate from within the structures themselves, rendering them nearly transparent beneath the blazing heat. From outside, one could glimpse their interiors clearly. The flames illuminated the entire city, as though it were broad daylight. Above the palaces, gods and devils confronted one another in the sky. Qinmu immediately spotted Saint Woodcutter, and behind him stood numerous deities, among them Sanghua's father. Opposing them was a devil god whose appearance was unexpectedly refined and elegant, save for one unsettling detail. He had no ears. In place of each ear was a face. Qinmu could not see his back, and thus could not tell whether yet another face adorned the rear of his head. At that moment, a black pillar rose into view, thick as several men combined. It resembled a towering pagoda, piercing diagonally into the vast courtyard. An enormous axe descended as well, nearly matching the pillar in thickness. Only then did Qinmu realize the so-called pillar was no pagoda, but a colossal spear. It crossed with Saint Woodcutter's axe, both standing erect within the plaza. These spirit weapons were immense beyond measure. Their mere presence caused the ground beneath them to crack and fracture. Enter the plaza, the Black Tiger god urged. When those before you fall, it will be your turn. Qinmu and Sanghua stepped forward to the edge of the arena. Within stood several divine arts practitioners, their bodies drenched in blood. Clad in armor, they regulated their breathing. They had clearly come from the battlefield. Opposite them stood young practitioners as well, but they were devils. Some bore wounds, yet their expressions were fierce and resolute. "My lord, they have arrived," the black tiger god said, bowing toward Saint Woodcutter in the sky. "Why are their hearts so unsettled?" The tiger god replied at once, "His mental cultivation is too weak. Upon hearing that the founding emperor Era persists, his soul wandered astray." Saint Woodcutter cast him a sharp glance. The tiger god's long ears flattened backward, clinging to his head as he shrank into silence. Saint Woodcutter then turned his gaze toward Qin Mu, who was rummaging through his touty sack. From within, he drew out a lump of black iron and poked it toward the flames issuing from a palace. "An unsettled mind and a restless temperament. Is he truly of use? Could my judgment have erred? On the battlefield, he did not appear so curious and lively." The black iron in Qin Mu's hand was instantly scorched by the heat. Without hesitation, he tossed it aside. Even before the flames upon it could die, it melted into liquid iron. The fire continued to burn, and in less than a breath, the molten metal turned to ash. So this is why it is called Li City. This flame is none other than Li Fire. Saint Woodcutter's brows furrowed faintly, while a disciple behind him exclaimed in astonishment, shattering the silence. "Not only Li Fire, there is also Devil Fire within it," Qin Mu declared. The black tiger god could not help but explain. "This place was seized by the devils. They concealed their devil fire within Li Fire as part of their scheme. Do not touch it, lest you be burned to death. But how did you discern the presence of devil fire?" "Li Fire burns with intense heat, ideal for forging. It can easily melt black iron, yet it cannot fully reduce it to ash," Qin Mu explained. "Devil fire, on the other hand, is not as hot, but possesses a terrifying corrosive nature. It was Li Fire that melted the iron, but devil fire that devoured it completely." Suddenly, Qin Mu's eyes shone with excitement, causing the black tiger god to leap back in alarm. "Devil fire can refine spirit weapons, while Li Fire is an even superior divine flame. This journey has been worthwhile. My sword pellet can ascend to a higher level." Qin Mu exclaimed. Mute had imparted to him the secrets of smelting. He knew the nature of every flame. Now, encountering two such fires at once, he could not contain his excitement. At once, he produced an iron plate, a frame, and a black iron hammer. "Brother Tiger, you may not know, but my sword pellet has already reached the stage where it can coil around a finger. One step further, and it shall flow like water. I have long sought superior flames, yet found none. Until now." Qin Mu withdrew his sword pellet and smiled. "Devil fire can consume black iron, but not black gold essence. My swords are forged from black gold essence mixed with divine metal. Using devil fire, I can purge all impurities." The surrounding gods and devils were dumbfounded. They watched as Qin Mu swiftly assembled a smelting platform, tied a black felt apron about his waist, and cast his flying swords upon the table. Selecting one, he thrust it into the flames. Clang! The sound of hammer striking metal rang out, shattering the heavy silence. Qin Mu worked with unwavering focus, each strike precise and deliberate. "The one who threshes grains," Sanghua murmured softly. "How do you know the art of forging as well?" Without lifting his head, Qin Mu replied modestly, "I have studied it for over a decade. I am slightly more proficient at it than algebra." Sanghua stuck out her tongue and watched him forge. Gradually, the turbulence in her heart began to settle. Her father, seeing her presence, frowned slightly and parted his lips, but ultimately chose silence. Clang, clang, clang. The hammering continued. Surrounded by gods and devils, only the rhythmic forging echoed, grating upon every ear. At last, the devil god opposite Saint Woodcutter turned one of his faces toward him and spoke with a gentle tone. "Furluo has at last met the heavenly master of that so-called celestial heavens. Indeed, reputation pales before reality. This successor of yours is most intriguing, but are you certain you wish to entrust battle to him?" Saint Woodcutter's expression remained calm. "Cultivating the heart is akin to forging iron. His heart was unsettled earlier, and so he tempers it through forging. This is a profound method of mental cultivation, Fu Rilo. Can you not perceive it?" Clang, clang, clang. Qin Mu swung his hammer with vigor. Striking relentlessly, he bore no semblance of cultivating his heart. only that of a blacksmith engrossed in his craft. St. Woodcutter's eyelids twitched. He nearly lost his composure. Why is he still forging? Below, Chin-Mu stored away completed swords and brought out another batch to temper in the flames. Veins bulged upon St. Woodcutter's forehead, but he suppressed them at once. Fu Riluo laughed loudly. Neither of us can defeat the other. Then let our juniors decide. Heavenly Master, if my side prevails, you shall retreat and continue your delusions. If yours triumphs, I shall yield Lee City to you. St. Woodcutter hesitated briefly. The ringing of hammer upon iron echoed once more. Chin-Mu remained wholly absorbed in forging. Nearby, the City Lord of Brilliance, Injured City, spoke softly. Heavenly Master, do not worry. Supreme Emperor Heaven has its own prodigies, youths with the aptitude of true gods. They will not be inferior to Fu Riluo's disciples. St. Woodcutter glanced at Chin-Mu, still hammering without pause, and could only nod.